My Part of Town Chattanooga, a podcast tour of our city by the people who know it best. Each episode features a conversation about a different neighborhood or aspect of life here in the scenic city. My name is Michael Crosa. Thanks for stopping by. This episode is sponsored by Trainual, the #1 software of SOP documentation and employee manuals. Listeners can get 10% off their first month with offer code CROSA, but more on that after the show. Let's get started, shall we? And I am here with Brie Maya, who is a local real estate agent. Brie, can you tell us about your part of town?
Yeah, so my part of town is northern Cleveland. So Cleveland, Tennessee, kind of gets broken up into just the 4 directional markers. There's north, south, east, and west. And funny enough, those are actually often marked by churches. So we have a North Cleveland church, we have an East Cleveland church, we have South Cleveland. We don't really have West Cleveland, but Westmore, I think, is what falls on the west side. And that kind of helps kind of bring those different parts together. And I've lived in northern Cleveland for about 13 years now.
Nice, nice. So this is Cleveland, Tennessee, not Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
And this this is a little bit outside of the normal Chattanooga kind of area. Can you tell me where we're talking about?
Yeah, so Cleveland falls further north of Chattanooga. So if you're in Chattanooga and you get on to 75 North, you're going to pass through the Ooltewah Collegedale area, and then McDonald even falls a little bit between Ooltewah and Cleveland, and then you get Cleveland. So Cleveland is probably the next largest city between Chattanooga and Knoxville. So if you're kind of
Okay.
thinking about markers going north, you're going to go Chattanooga. Cleveland is probably the next most kind of developed city, and then the Knoxville area.
Got it. Cool. Okay, so northern Cleveland, paint me a picture. What does it look like up there?
So northern Cleveland is still kind of a relatively small town. The overall population for Cleveland is just a little bit above 40,000. Northern Cleveland, in my opinion, is what I would describe as the most developed and developing part of Cleveland. So if you're on 75 North and you get off of exit 27, you're going to be met by Paul Huff Parkway, which is like a really main strip, which that's where you're going to find the mall. It's really small. They've tried to do things over time to kind of build it up, but that's where the mall is. You're going to get a lot of restaurants. I mean, Publix is there, Walmart is there. It's kind of like the hub of all of the main things that you need in Cleveland. You can find in northern Cleveland. There's a lot of apartment developments here. It's a lot of some of the more high income homes are on the northern Cleveland side, though that does get dispersed kind of throughout Cleveland. But this is the more developing part. When you get into the East Cleveland side, you get a lot more locals. Northern Cleveland, you have a more transient population. You have a lot of
Hmm.
people moved from all over the place. So it's where most of the action is, aside from there's like Northeast Cleveland, which is where Lee University is. I don't know how familiar you are with that.
Hmm.
That's a historic part of Cleveland. And so you have some things there too. So that's kind of how I would describe it.
Okay. Cool. So Lee University, can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so Lee University is my alma mater. I moved from
Nice.
Michigan. I moved from Michigan to attend Lee, and then I kind of never left. I did move back to Michigan for a short 2 years, and then ended up back down here. So it's a private Christian school. So it's defined as a Christian liberal arts university, 4-year university, and they do have those Christian majors like related to pastoral ministry and all facets of ministry, really. But then they have all those other liberal arts degrees, psychology. I got my degree was actually in education from there. That's what I did before I entered into real estate.
Oh, nice.
And so I had a great experience there. It really Lee creates a lot of the culture in Cleveland, in my opinion. It's kind of a hub of, and that's why Cleveland is kind of such a transient community. You
Hmm.
have a lot of people from all over the place, and you find that in Chattanooga too, especially, these last 5 years or so.
Hmm.
But you have a lot of people from all over the place. Professors come from everywhere to teach there. And so it's a really great community. They have a really great music program, which puts on a lot of um, programs and opportunities for the community to just come. They have something called Classic Christmas, which is like a community favorite. Everybody kind of makes plans for that. So it's kind of a hub. And it really kind of has taken over a lot of that downtown area of Cleveland, which some are happy about and some are not so happy about. But it's
Sure.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the price of progress, as they say.
Well, okay, that's cool. So I'm getting a really kind of like community connected picture up there. Now does Cleveland have some particularly delicious employers up there? Is that
Delicious
right?
employers. Well,
Right? Because
yes.
like
So
if
we
isn't
have, yeah, we
M&M.
have M&M Mars. Yep. So we have one of their main manufacturing plants where they make M&Ms and Twix and all of those things. Which, fun fact, my husband worked there when we first came down to Lee. He started working there while we were students, and they would send them home with like fresh packages of stuff off the line, and it tastes totally different than it does in the
Really?
stores. I don't know, which makes you wonder, like, how long does it sit in a
Yeah.
warehouse before it makes it to the store? But it just tastes different when it's like fresh off the produce line. But yeah, we have M&M Mars is the most delicious employer in Cleveland. We also have a Duracell plant, which is a huge manufacturing plant. We
Okay.
have
Not for tasting.
not for tasting, correct. We have an Amazon fulfillment center that's a pretty big employer here. What Whirlpool has one of their main customer service and manufacturing plants here. So um, there's a lot of large companies in Cleveland. There's even another Coca-Cola plant further out in Cleveland, not on the northern side. Duracell is on the northern side, and M&M is on the northern side of Cleveland. So
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, one of the things that I think I learned after moving here is that Chattanooga has such a rich history of manufacturing and shipping.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and that I mean, even the song Chattanooga Choo Choo, is on the choo choo line,
yeah,
on the train
yeah.
line. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about like parks and things like that?
So for parks and things like that, some of that you can find on Lee's campus. The community uses next to Lee's Health Club Center. There is a park there for children to use, and a lot of people in the community just walk Lee's campus because it's beautiful, it's safe, it's
Hmm.
well lit, and they have little parks for people to use there. Um, and they did not on the northern side of Cleveland, but on kind of East Cleveland, still pretty close to Lee University in that more downtown district. There's another large park that's really great. My mind is totally blanking on the name of that park. But they just within maybe the last 4 to 5 years have really redone that, and it's really beautiful. And they have like a little creek for that's like safe that the kids can play in, and tons of equipment. And we also have Tinsley Park, which has a community pool. There's a dog park there. And we
Nice.
have what's called the Greenway, which is a large walking path, paved walking path that the long-term vision is that it runs throughout the entire city of Cleveland. So they've done it in phases, and right now it connects through most of the main parts of Cleveland, and it runs under different um, roadways and things like that. So I mean, you can walk almost anywhere in Cleveland via the Greenway, and the Greenway runs through Tinsley Park. So some of it is like pretty open. Some of it goes through wooded areas. That's a favorite for locals, and it stays really busy because there's so many different access points, and it's really probably the only like running trail. We don't have a ton of sidewalks and things like that in
Hmm.
Cleveland. So if you're a runner, you might end up on the street, but the Greenway is one consecutive paved path for that.
Nice. Um, So speaking of like kids and stuff, what kinds of schools are out there?
We have great schools in Cleveland, Bradley County schools, and then Cleveland City schools, and both are really great districts. Large districts in Bradley County, you have two different high schools. In Cleveland, you have, I believe, just the one. But they always get really great ratings. Bradley County just started something called the Pi Center, which is being built kind of behind Lee's campus. And that's supposed to be a really unique initiative for STEM kind of programs. And they're also going to be kind of, my understanding is a little bit of an incubator space for small businesses. So it'll
Cool.
be a cool way for high school students to start to gain real world experience in um, high, highly competitive fields, and also start to see kind of how small businesses are run. So there's a lot of initiatives. Bradley County serves some of the lower income population of this city. And so they work really hard to provide. I mean, Cleveland City does have some schools that do the same. So they're always working really hard to provide meaningful opportunities for those students and make sure that they're not being cheated in their educational experience. So
Sure,
great
yeah.
schools. People around here take a lot of pride in the school that they go to and that they graduate from. And I mean, as a teacher, I taught at Waterville Elementary and Bradley County schools. And I mean, they just, these people are like the salt of the earth, in my opinion.
Mm,
You won't find better people than the teachers around here. They love their kids, they love these students, and it's a real community. I mean, they just go above and beyond to provide really great opportunities and experiences for their students. So that's something that the community takes a lot of pride in, is their schools around here for sure.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Anything else that you think people should know about Cleveland?
I would just say, if you're thinking about moving to this area and you're looking in this like southeast region, and maybe you love Chattanooga, but it's a little bit more big city than you're looking for. Cleveland can be a great meet between. You're maybe 45 minutes from Chattanooga, depending on how far in you go. Cleveland is a quiet community, relatively low crime. Most of their crime is nonviolent crime. So a lot
Hmm.
of people feel really safe here. So I would just say, if you're looking to move to the area and you want kind of a quiet small town feel, but with tons of convenience, Cleveland is a really great place. I mean, I'm like 3 minutes away from everything I need, which is super awesome on the northern side of Cleveland.
Hmm.
So that's kind of spoiled me. Living in Michigan, I had to drive 40 minutes to anything. I mean, it was just, you were driving to get everywhere. In Chattanooga, the traffic is like less than desirable sometimes.
Sure.
And even in Cleveland, because it's becoming, there's so much development here now.
Hmm.
The traffic is like, you wish it was better.
Yeah.
But you're just so close to everything, which is so convenient. So if you want kind of that small town feel, but with a lot of convenience and community, it can be a really great place, a really affordable place to live, in my opinion.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. So, okay, so Brian, you are a realtor. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you to learn more about living in Cleveland, how can we reach you?
Yeah, so you can reach me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My handle is Brie Maya Real Estate. On Instagram, I think it's Brie Maya _real estate. And on Facebook, it's just Brie Maya Real Estate. I try to share helpful videos there about the home buying process, and um, try to highlight local businesses and things like that from time to time. So you can find me there. I'm also on TikTok, is just at Brie and Maya, and that's kind of more just spur of the moment stuff, but usually real estate related.
Hmm.
So that's where you can find me, and you can email me, which I'm sure you can put this in the show notes. But it's just briesellschat@gmail, and I'm usually very responsive. And I'm a no pressure person. I know people think about real estate agents as like used car salesmen. Like,
Right.
we're just kind of, but that's just not me. Um, I have an educator's heart. And so I always want to help people, and I never want there to be any pressure. So if you just have questions, don't feel like I'm going to bombard you trying to sell you something. I'm just here to be a resource for people.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll link all of that in the show notes. Brie, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about your part of town.
You're very welcome. Thank you, sir.
My Part of Town Chattanooga is sponsored by Trainual, a software which helps small businesses scale and grow by providing a platform for training and process documentation. Trainual eases onboarding so that employees can get up to full speed faster and so that you can spend more time on what matters most. One of my favorite features is Trainual tags, which are these little thingies that you can boop with your phone and bring up a specific Trainual page. So for example, a print shop owner could put one on a piece of equipment so that the employees always have an easy reference for how to use it. Trainual is a crucial tool for any growing business, so I highly recommend it. That's Trainual, like training manual. Get 10% off your first month with offer code CROSA. That's my last name, C as in Charlie, ROSA, for 10% off your first month. Sign up for your free trial now at trainual.com. Thanks for listening to My Part of Town Chattanooga. Our theme song is Chattanooga Skiffle by Lon Eldridge. Be sure to subscribe and find us on social media so that you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you, so to tell us what makes this city special or to learn more about what you've heard, send me an email at mpotchattanooga@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. I can't wait to tell you more in our next episode of My Part of Town, Chattanooga.